prayer.
After that, we with us put ourselves in the presence of our Almighty God, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Most gracious and heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this wonderful night, Lord. Here we are again, asking your wisdom and knowledge, Lord, to guide us along this review, Father God. Help us to have a focus and continue to bless us, Father God. This we ask in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. So I'll just introduce lecture 8, which is Philippine Environmental Laws. Okay, Jen. All right. So we have a new topic. This should be the introduction for our environmental laws. So um so actually these are not just laws, but we can consider them tools to address environmental challenges, referring to the environmental laws, and they're designed to protect our resources, ensure sustainable development, and hold violators accountable. So, but laws alone are not enough. They require action, implementation, and the expertise of planners like us. So, I would like to introduce first on the foundation, which was promulgated in 1975. We can go to the next page. So let's take a closer look at this diagram. It provides us with a structured overview of Philippine environmental laws and their key areas of focus. So at the center there is the National Environmental Policy of 1975. Just a moment. It's foundational or foundation or legislation that laid, okay, so it's the legislation that laid the foundation for environmental governance in the country, and it emphasized the integration of environmental protection into the broader framework of sustainable development, setting the stage for the creation of more specific laws. So around this policy are 6 critical environmental areas, each representing a major challenge or opportunity for environmental planning and governance. So you can see air, water, waste, forestry and protected areas, wildlife and biodiversity conservation, pollution. So the way we will be tackling environmental laws is yeah, we start from the very beginning. So it would be, how do you call that? Mm, yeah, like historical approach. Okay. For air anyway, air quality management. So the Clean Air Act, which is the if you remember, Clean Air Act of 1999 is RA 8749. So you better start memorizing which act for each of these legislations. So Clean Air Act of 1999, and then RA 874 8749. And so this law highlights the protection of air resources to ensure a balanced ecosystem, and it also prohibits burning garbage, and mandates industries to meet stringent emission standards. So as planners, we must consider air pollution not just from stationary sources like factories, but also mobile sources like vehicles. And what strategies can we propose for mitigating air pollution while promoting urban mobility? So clean air isn't just a necessity, it's a right. Okay, so that would be indeed very important. But I'm just giving an overview first. The next what you can see here is water resources management. So water, let me see. Okay. Water. So which law do we have for this? The Clean Water Act of 2004, RA 9275. So it focuses on maintaining the quality of our water bodies, protecting them from pollution caused by industrial and domestic waste. For planners, this means ensuring that development projects are or development projects integrate wastewater treatment systems and protecting watershed areas from overdevelopment. Remember, water is the lifeblood of communities. Without it, both people and industries will struggle. So waste, um, I think this is the most popular.
Our emails needs character po, ma'am.
Yes, that's it's something that everyone knows, even children, right? So it's waste management and under ESWM. Sometimes we call it ESWM or Solid Waste Management Act of 2000. So you have to know also which act is that. So ESWM Act of 2000 and RA 9003 as you mentioned. So this law mandates the gas-gas na ito, 'di ba? But I still have to say it. Segregation, recycling, and proper disposal of solid waste. So this area is particularly challenging for urban planners because waste generation grows with urbanization. So we always tie it up with urbanization. We need to design systems that encourage waste reduction at the household level, and build facilities for recycling, composting. So beyond compliance, waste management is about creating a circular economy. I think I mentioned this a number of times, where resources are reused rather than wasted. And then next box there is forestry and protected areas. So I'm just making overview because there will be some discussions and more in-depth discussions at the end. So forestry and protected areas are, they're crucial for biodiversity and climate regulation. So what is that? So RA 7586 or the NIPAS Act. But of course we have the ENIPAS, right? So we will be tackling on that. Of course, some amendments or probably revisions later. So that would be, I'll just make an overview first. So what is NIPAS? National Integrated Protected Area System Act ensures the conservation of biologically significant areas in the country. So we have responsibility as planners to balance development with the preservation of these areas, especially when infrastructure projects threaten to encroach upon forest lands. The challenge is to ensure that communities living near these areas also benefit economically without resorting to destructive practices. Then we can see wildlife and biodiversity conservation. So what is the law on this particular concern? Of course, closely linked to forestry is wildlife, right? And biodiversity conservation governed by the Wildlife Resources Conservation and Protection Act of 2001, RA 9147. This law underscores the importance of protecting endangered species and their habitats. So as planners, we can integrate biodiversity considerations into our zoning laws and ensure that wildlife corridors remain intact even in urbanizing areas. So biodiversity is not just about saving species, it's about maintaining the ecological balance necessary for human survival. Then pollution, finally, we have pollution control. It's a broad category that encompasses air, air, water, soil, and noise pollution. Laws like the Toxic Substances and Hazardous and Nuclear Waste Control Act, that's 6969, aim to regulate the use and disposal of hazardous materials. So this is particularly complex area as pollution often crosses municipal boundaries. Planners must collaborate across jurisdictions to ensure effective implementation of pollution control measures. So this diagram is more than just list, of laws and categories. It's a reminder of the interconnectedness of environmental issues like air pollution affects water quality, deforestation impacts biodiversity, then improper waste management contributes to both land and water pollution. As environmental planners, our role is to ensure that these laws are not just theoretical but practical tools for sustainable development. So we can go to the next slide. Okay. Um, so I will just cover PD 1151 and then for tomorrow we have 1152. So for this one, yeah, starting with environmental policy of 1975. So this policy established the foundation for integrating environmental protection into the country's development goals. It laid the groundwork for more specific laws addressing various environmental concerns. So I think I mentioned that earlier about to create, develop, something like that, right? So to create, develop, maintain, and improve the conditions under which um which man and nature can thrive in productive and enjoyable harmony with each other. So section 1 actually covers three main thrusts. So what is this first policy trust is all about? It means fostering an environment where both economic activities and nature coexist. It pushes us to avoid the development versus conservation mindset and instead pursue projects that benefit both human and ecological systems. So as planners, this encourages us to integrate green spaces, prioritize sustainable practices, and minimize environmental disruptions in our plans. Then the next task is to fulfill the social, economic, and other requirements of present and future generations of Filipino. So what's this? How can we elaborate this? This trust highlights sustainability and equity. It reminds us that environmental policies are not just for today's population. Remember the the jurisprudence for that, but also for the generations yet to come. Isn't it? When we recite our preamble, we always say about posterity, the future generation. When we design cities or implement projects, we need to think long term. So how will this benefit future communities? Will it ensure that natural resources are still available for their use? So, Oposa versus Factoran, if you want to read that later, I can give you a case digest on that. And the third one is to ensure the attainment of an environmental quality that is conducive to a life of dignity and well-being. So this trust focuses on quality of life. Clean air, safe water, and healthy ecosystems are not luxuries. They are basic rights that underpin human dignities. Our role as planners is to uphold these rights by creating spaces where people can live, work, and thrive without compromising their health or their environment. So we can go to the next slide because this is about section 2. Kanina section 1, right? So we're lawyers tonight. So section 2 goals, so building upon the trust outlined in PD 1151, section 2 of this policy identifies 6 main goals. Yung kanina, 3 trust, di ba? 3 main trust and now 6 main goals. First, recognize, discharge, and fulfill the responsibilities of each generation as trustee and guardian of the environment for succeeding generations. this goal then emphasizes intergenerational responsibility. It's a reminder that our decisions today directly impact the environment that future generations will inherit. As planners, this requires us to design and implement projects with long-term sustainability in mind. So second there is assure the people of a safe, decent, healthful, productive, and aesthetic environment. So what do we mean by that? The focus here is on improving the quality of life. Environmental policies must ensure that Filipinos can live in conditions that promote health, safety, and well-being while also valuing the beauty of our natural surroundings. So third, encourage the widest exploitation of the environment without degrading it or endangering human life, health, and safety, or creating conditions adverse to agriculture, okay, commerce, and industry. So so what do you mean by that? That this goal encourages the need for development while stressing environmental safeguards. It promotes responsible use of natural resources without compromising environmental integrity or economic stability. So fourth, preserve important historic and cultural aspects of the Philippine heritage. Environmental planning is not just about nature. It also involves protecting our cultural heritage. This means ensuring that historic sites and culturally significant areas are preserved even as we develop new infrastructure, coming up with new developments, modern infrastructure, etc. So number five, attain a rational and orderly balance between population and resource use, meaning this goal addresses resource sustainability. As planners, we must advocate for responsible population growth and resource allocation, ensuring that the environment can support both current and future demands. And number six, improve the utilization of renewable and non-renewable resources. So this goal encourages efficient and sustainable use of all resources. Renewable resources like solar and wind energy should be maximized, while non-renewable resources like minerals should be used judiciously to avoid depletion. So you can go to section 3, the next slide. Okay, so we just have one there that it says, it shall be the duty, okay, right to a healthy environment. It shall be the duty and responsibility of each individual to contribute to the preservation and enhancement of the Philippine environment. So that this is it establishes not only a legal right, but also a personal and collective responsibility for every individual to contribute to the preservation and enhancement of the Philippine environment. And this is significant because it shifts the focus from government agencies to all sectors of society. It tells us that safeguarding the environment isn't just a matter of policy enforcement, it's a shared duty among all of us, especially for us environmental planners. This means embedding this principle into our projects and our plans, whether it's designing green spaces, reducing urban population, or advocating for sustainable practices. Our work should empower communities to actively participate in environmental stewardship. So more importantly, this section reminds us that environment is everyone's responsibility, not just the policymakers or environmental planners or environmentalists. Every Filipino, through their actions, has a role in preserving the quality of life for themselves and future generations. So again, our preamble. So we can go to the next slide, section 4. Okay, ibusin lang natin yung PD 51151. So it's section 4 kanina, no? Section 3. Okay. I forgot. If you can bring back to section 3, Jen, we can go back to section 3. I forgot to mention that in the Constitution, okay, it is strongly aligned with the Constitution. Yung ano, right, this section 3, it's actually, it's not just a professional responsibility, it's a constitutional mandate. When we create plans, isn't I mentioned manage resources or regulate development, we're not only following environmental laws but also upholding the constitutional rights of people. So we can go to the next slide. I just want to emphasize the importance, the strong link, or the its alignment with the Constitution. Where is section 4? Okay. It's a critical provision that because establishes the environmental impact statement, the EIS. Okay, please don't forget. It's section 4 is EIS. Because it formalizes this requirement called EIS. And this ensures that projects or undertakings with significant environmental impacts are thoroughly assessed before implementation. So letter I there, detailed environmental impact of the proposed action, project, or undertaking. So proponents are required to provide a comprehensive analysis of how their project or activity will affect the environment. And this includes identifying areas, ecosystems, and communities that might be impacted, right? It's impact to land, air, water, communities, and many others, the ecosystem as a whole. And then number 2, double I, any adverse environmental effect which cannot be avoided should the proposal be implemented. So these are the adverse environmental effects, that any potential environmental damage or adverse effects must be clearly outlined in the EIS, especially those that cannot be avoided if the project proceeds. This ensures transparency in decision-making and accountability for mitigation measures. And then also, yes, some people, some planners indeed are finding this difficult. This 3 alternative to the proposed action, because sometimes we already have a mindset as planners that okay, this is the mitigating measure, and the the alternatives could be very challenging to the proposed action, but it's required under the EIA law that we explore alternative approaches, which is a key aspect of sustainable planning. The EIS must include options that could achieve the same objectives with reduced environmental harm. So it could be very long report. So for a determination that the short-term uses of the resources of the environment are consistent with the maintenance and enhancement of the long-term productivity. So it is a short-term versus long-term resource use. The statement must evaluate, the EIS must evaluate whether the short-term benefits of resource use align with the goal of maintaining long-term environmental productivity and sustainability. So this ensures that projects contribute to lasting environmental and economic gains. Then the fifth one, whenever the proposal involves the use of um where am I? Involves the use of depletable, sorry for the for the error. Okay, typo error or non-renewable resources, a finding must be made that such use and commitment are warranted. So it means that if the project involves consuming finite resources, proponents must justify their use and provide a commitment to responsible management. This clause emphasizes the need for careful consideration of natural resource depletion, like those extractable, the mining industry or the mining activity in general. So why is EIS important? It's more than a requirement. It's a safeguard. It prevents unchecked development by ensuring that every project is subjected to rigorous scrutiny. So for planners, the EIS is a tool to align projects with environmental policies and principles, promoting sustainable outcomes while minimizing harm. So as we plan for infrastructure, industrial activities, or urban developments, the EIS reminds us to consider not just economic benefits, but also the ecological and social cost of our decisions. So this provision reflects the core idea of PD 1151, that environmental protection and development are not opposing forces, but must go hand in hand. So we can go to the next slide. We went back okay, section 4. It's something like of the furtherance of section 4. So building, it says all agencies with expertise to comment on draft environmental impact statement, then lead agency to issue environmental impact statement. So okay, um what is the role, the involvement of relevant agencies here? So all government agencies with expertise in environmental matters are required to review and provide comments on the draft EIS. So if this was written way back 1970s ba yon, yung itong law, then at this point in time, uh participating agencies include PEZA, Department of Tourism, and all those agencies in the review. It's not just DNR or EMB specifically that's reviewing the EIS. So if it involves economic zones, then PEZA also participates, and then Department of Tourism, it's a tourism related industry that's being proposed. So yeah, it ensures a collaborative approach where specialized knowledge contributes to a comprehensive evaluation of potential environmental impacts. Then who's the lead agency? Is the lead agency is the EMB of DNR. So it's the responsibility of the designated lead agency to issue the EIS, to issue the environmental impact, no, the ECC, right? So this agency oversees the entire process, ensuring that the proposed project meets all environmental standards and guidelines. So what's our takeaway here? The EIS under PD 1151, the EIS process underscores the importance of expertise, coordination, and accountability, because it involves multiple agencies, and also the law ensures that environmental considerations are thoroughly reviewed before any significant project is approved. Then go to the next one, section 5. So section 5 is it emphasizes the role of agencies in the EIS. Okay. So in especially the critical role of these agencies in ensuring the effective implementation of the EIS system. And this section specifically identifies 19 agencies in this law, okay? And it was outlined in LOI, or Letter of Instruction 422, as being responsible for environmental protection. These agencies are tasked with preparing their respective guidelines, rules, and regulations to carry out the EIA or the EIS process. EIS ang tawag nila nung araw, ano? So because this is a historical approach in reviewing or looking into the um environmental laws from the very beginning of, when PD 1151 was promulgated. So okay, we it's each of this, if you I think I sent you the LOI, right? The link of and you can read that, and it's about how they are collaborating, and how this collaborative responsibility is being processed, that each of these 19 agencies has expertise in specific aspects of environmental protection, such as air quality, water resources, land management, waste disposal. But most of this already are linked with DNR, and by preparing their own guidelines, these agencies ensure that all facets of environmental protection are covered comprehensively. And so this framework minimizes gaps and overlaps in responsibilities. For example, DNR may focus on forestry, biodiversity, while the Department of Energy would address renewable and non-renewable energy resource utilization. So this specialization is crucial for addressing the multifaceted nature of environmental issues. Then there's customization of EIS requirements. The preparation of specific rules and regulations allows each agency to tailor or to customize the EIS process to the industries or sectors under their jurisdiction. For instance, infrastructure projects may require different environmental assessments compared to energy or agricultural initiatives. So, by customizing guidelines, agencies ensure that EIS requirements remain practical and applicable to real-world scenarios. Also, yeah, accountability and oversight of these agencies, such that the involvement of multiple agencies also creates a system of checks and balances. By requiring each agency to issue its own set of rules, Section 5 ensures that no single agency has full control over the EIS process. But the way it's going now, it's being, you know, majority of the tasks are lodged with DNR, and specifically within EMB. So I hope we can make some critical analysis toward the end. When I will lecture on pag nandun na tayo sa EIA law, okay? Matagal pa yon kasi we need to do some generic, like historical, ito, yung sa history of environmental planning legislation. So, yeah, this provision demonstrates how environmental governance is a shared responsibility. No single agency. So this is the ideally section 5, that it says no single agency can address the complexity of environmental protection alone. By mandating the involvement of 19 agencies, PD 1151 ensures that environmental protection efforts are well coordinated and informed by technical expertise. It also reminds us that as planners, this provision, uh, yeah, we are reminded of the importance of working closely with these agencies to, to navigate, or to explore, or to review and analyze the EIS process. So, okay. But it's something that it's not really comfortable on my part to be saying that about 19 agencies, because it's not really happening the way I see it today. But this is chronological. This is chronologically arranged. I mean, the laws, right? So I'm starting from 1975 law. So it's not the scenario today, but please be reminded that I'm lecturing this as it is, as PDF 1151, and not today's state of environmental laws. Okay, so because we need to understand the chronological aspect of it, para alam ninyo how it started and what were those concepts before. Uh, so, section 5, okay. I think few slides na lang, okay? So, we can go to the next one. of course, there's letter of instruction, but section 6, we're now on section 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, uh, first, NEPC, National Environmental uh, Policy. Okay. It Environmental Protection Council, sorry, the National Environmental Protection Council, the NEPC, was given the authority, or yeah, to create a secretariat to assist in implementing this decree. This secretariat is crucial as it serves as the administrative backbone, ensuring that the policies, guidelines, and actions under PD 1151 are executed efficiently. So the NEPC coordinates with other agencies, consolidating efforts for better environmental governance. So that's section 6. It's just saying that NEPC was constituted during the time. And then section 7, Ministry of Human Settlements role. So, okay. So you already know that it's located in section 7 yung role ng human settlements. So now, Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development. So this section highlights the role of Ministry of Human Settlements. It empowers the ministry to provide management, technical, and financial support for implementing PD 1151. So how does so how do we take this section 7? It means that this provision, okay, reinforces the importance of integrating environmental considerations into urban development projects. The technical expertise, funding are available to align human settlements with sustainable practice. And later we can analyze and we can go back again. I hope you would still remember all this, the different provisions of 1151 when when we reach that point that we are already discussing about specific special laws, okay, about Clean Air Act, the Water Act. So Section 8, we can go to Section 8, authorizes NEPC to issue the guidelines and rules to implement the PD. So yeah, it was also tasked with issuing the necessary guidelines and rules for this. What else is so this step is essential because without clear guidelines, implementation can be fragmented or ineffective. So they think if we look, we're now, because we're looking back to section 8, but today how's EIA law and other laws are being implemented, who's in charge, and how do we deal with it? Is it a better condition today than before? So anyway, section 9, penalties and cancellation of ECC. Was it stricter before? We will come to that stage when we are already, so later magdi-discuss na tayo, parang ganun, ano? So to make sure, kasi ngayon our communication is a lecture and then you absorb and then you take the mock exams and then you get your score right away as soon as you submit it, and then you get your performance and then you listen again. So we will come to a point that we will discuss to make sure I'm able to gauge not only through exams what you think about it and how you're satisfied about absorption and the different stages of review, because we're not yet in that point that we have mastered. We need to finish, parang gano'n. So, I don't really care kahit hanggang July tayo. Okay? Basta, importante sa akin, I need 100% of the review of my reviewees, of the examinees under my group will pass. So that's my goal. And of course, it is also a wish that if possible, I can also have top-notchers because your success is also mine. Okay? So para-pareho tayo ng goal. If you really want to pass, what I wish is for you to top. Parang gano'n. I need to exceed. Gusto ko sana ganito, gano'n. Okay, so we will work sana it's not just you listen tonight, but you can go back to this slide. Okay, so it's about penalties, and it says this section introduces penalties for violations of PD 1151, including the cancellation of ECC. The ECC is a vital procedural requirement borrowed actually from US jurisprudence. So it ensures that any project with potential environmental impacts has undergone an environmental impact assessment, or the EIA. So the cancellation of the ECC is a contentious issue as it directly affects the viability of projects. So for planners, this emphasizes the importance of adhering to EIA requirements and addressing environmental concerns proactively to avoid legal and financial setbacks. So finally, section 10. Okay, section 10, revolving fund. So you also have to know that this provision allows for the establishment of a revolving fund using fines imposed by the National Pollution Control Commission. Do you still call NPCC today? Okay, we will come to find that out when we study the EIA process. So this fund is used to support environmental programs and environmental or enforcement activities. The revolving fund is a practical solution under this law to ensure that penalties collected are reinvested into environmental protection rather than being absorbed into general government revenues. So okay, can go. Okay, next slide. This is what I've been telling you, the LOI 422, the Interagency Committee on Environment. So this was, okay, so I hope you remember the PD 1151. When was it? Anyone? Anong date? Anong date yan? Jen? Yung PD 1151? Diba 1975? No.
Two thousand
April 18. Hmm?
2018 po, ma'am. BB,
Hindi. 70s yun, di
BB
ba?
111,
1151.
yung
Ah,
approval, ma'am.
yeah, of course, approval. Na sabi ko ba kanina? That's PD 1151 kasi is the Philippine Environmental Policy. Okay? So it was issued on April 18, 1977, but then the 1977 ano ya, and then the LOI, tingnan nga, LOI 422 was issued 1976, so it means it's earlier, no? Nagkaroon na talaga ng Interagency Committee on Environment before there was 1151. That's what we can see here. Kailangan magkaroon ito ng ano. And then, because in that LOI, it enumerated the different agencies in charge of environmental protection. If this came earlier, bilangin nga ninyo, June 6, 1976, from from April 18, so, di ba? April, so March, February, January, December, November, October, September. Mahirap magbilang ng ano na sa August, July, June. So 10 months. 10 months earlier ito. Okay, yung ano, yung ating, so, akala ko because I was thinking about chronology, no? So, chronology, ano yung nauna, di ba? So, yung pagkakasunod-sunod, alright? So, this, ano pala, issued on June 6, 1976, it just enumerated the different agencies in charge of environmental protection. And LOI 422 was for strong integration of environmental concerns in the 19 agencies. Baka kasi tanungin din ito identified as agencies concerned with environment. And then hindi pa DNR noon DNR. So Department of Natural Resources was directed to initiate the creation of the interagency committee. So, ibig sabihin, probably because 10 months yung gap they must be also have inputted into the 1151, isn't it? So, ganon. Theoretically, parang ganon yung naisip ko. But, okay, we can go to the next slide. We can go to the next slide. That, okay, the committee was required to submit within 1 month. Sabi niya, sige, tingnan natin, ano. Asan na yan? Makikita na natin mamaya, no? So, LOI did not just create the interagency committee, it also laid out clear responsibilities and deadlines to ensure prompt and effective action. So one of the key provisions was the requirement for the committee to submit a report within 1 month of its creation, 1 month after. So these reports serve as a foundational step in assessing and improving the country's environmental protection efforts. So that's generic. So doon sa the committee was required, okay, to provide a summary, okay? Can you see that? Summary of the accomplishments and ongoing activities, accomplishment and present activities in line with environmental protection. So who are they? The 19 agencies, isn't it? Involved in environmental protection. And this helped establish a baseline of what was already being done and identified gaps in effort. So, second, proposals to enhance environmental programs, to further programs on environmental protection. So, the committee was tasked to present proposals for improving and expanding existing programs on environmental protection. And this forward-looking aspect ensured that the report was not just a summary of past activities, but also a roadmap for the future. It did not mention about 1151 yet, so that's why it came later. And so a suggestion regarding amendments to existing laws and regulations relevant to the protection of the environment. So amendments, so they were talking about amendment and did not mention about 1151. So then monitor agencies amendments to existing laws and regulations. So we did not anyway mention about the 1151 kasi wala pa naman during that time. So 10 months, remember the 10 months gap? So okay, eto na bala. So we can go to the next slide. So this explains our questions that the historical background of LOI 422 okay 422 it says before LOI 422 the NPCC, the National Pollution Control Commission, served as the primary agency that tasked with managing environmental issues in the Philippines. Okay? Ito pala yung initial environmental agency. Its main focus was on controlling pollution because it says National Pollution Control. Of course, its main focus was on controlling pollution, specifically from industrial sources. So while this was an important function, its scope was limited. Okay? So when martial law was declared, the NPCC was transferred directly under the office of the president, signaling the government's recognition of the growing importance of environmental issues. However, this also centralized its authority, which had both advantages and disadvantages. Anong nakalagay dyan? The NPCC, can you see how trivial? It was largely headed by police officials. While they had authority and enforcement, they were not trained to create comprehensive environmental policies. So this lack of expertise limited the NPCC's ability to address environmental problems holistically. So parang hindi naman maganda yung history natin sa environment. So imagine police officials, yung NPCC pala, off the record. Pakisumbong niyo ako. But their approach tended to focus on individual cases such as pollution from specific factories rather than viewing the environment as an interconnected system because of lack of expertise, isn't it? For instance, they might address air pollution in one area without considering its impact on nearby water systems or communities. So this piecemeal approach failed to address the systemic nature of environmental challenges. Sino kayang nakapag-isip nito noon? Isn't it? So, please remember that, okay? It was the police officials that headed or that chaired or that led NPCC. So, another key issue was the absence, walang planner during that time, absence of planners perspective within the NPCC. So environmental problems are, you can just imagine that they've been, even before it was already inherently complex and require multidisciplinary solutions that consider long-term impacts and sustainable development. And the NPCC's limited scope and expertise highlighted the need for a broader, more integrated approach to environmental governance, which is precisely what LOI 422 sought to address by creating the Interagency Committee on the Environment. So the involvement of multiple agencies under LOI 422 brought in diverse perspectives, including urban planning, resource management, public health. So we can go and so I think we should end here because for tomorrow I'll do 1152. So okay. So that's for tomorrow yung 1152. So I hope you learned something even for a short while. 'Di ba? Okay. So remember, it was the police who headed NPCC during that time. So I hope you can also would also like to memorize when was this issued? Okay, and when was 1151 issued, or to that pag sinabing issued already, it took effect already during that time. So, pero the normal one is 15 days following the its official publication in the Philippine Gazette. Okay, and then and in national ano to? And in national in a newspaper of national circulation. Okay? So tomorrow, okay, Jen, maybe for tomorrow, I hope we can have pero maganda daw pag konti lang kasi it means that meron na akong 1, 2, 3, top 3. 'Di ba? Jemel, 'di ba, Rhea, Marjoy? Okay, some
Yes,
are
ma'am.
viewing
Thank
on
you.
some are viewing on kasi nakikita namin yung ano din, viewership sa ano natin, sa YouTube. So, but it's more important dito, di ba? Like, it's real time. Anyway, Jen, I would like to take a photo
Okay po, open
documentation.
na lang
Thank
po
you
ng
again.
camera nyo.
Yeah.
Top
Thank you,
1, 2, 3.
guys.
Diba? Okay, ready? In 3, 2, 1. Ayan. Bukas
Yan.
ulit.
Okay.
Good night
Okay,
po.
bye. Bye, everyone. So, Jen will give you the advance, advance, what's this? Okay, material. Okay. Night. Bye.
Thank you po,
Bye
ma'am.
po. Thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you.